5 scores! Rick Vaughn.
We've decided to get ourselves back in the game again with our podcast.
Rick Vaughn, Gary Madden.
Probably the craziest story that you're ever going to hear about hockey.
We're going to be coming back to you on a regular basis.
You are listening to Squid and the Ultimate Leafs Fan.
Hello, Canada and hockey fans of the United States and Newfoundland, and an extra big hello to Canadian servicemen overseas.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 90 of the Squid and Ultimate Leafs Fan Show. I'm Mike Wilson, the Ultimate Leafs Fan. Joining me, as always, my winger, Ricky Squid Vive. Squid, how are we keeping?
We're doing all right, Mike. A little bit of, I don't even know what you call it, anxiety, I guess, with my son playing in Game 7 tonight, and Michael Hauser, their best goalie up in Rochester, and one of their second best centermen suspended. Anyway, we'll have to deal with it and see if we can pull out the victory.
Well, that's right. We'll be pulling for him. I'm going to try and get it online myself tonight so I can have a look at it. So see if I can pull the cheap way and not have to pay for it. So I'm going to see if I can watch it later. Well, today we've got a very special guest, somebody that a good friend of yours. He was selected first overall by the Buffalo Sabres in a 1987 draft, played a 20-year career with stops in New York, Montreal, St. Louis, Dallas, and Colorado. Score 500, listen to these numbers, 515 goals, 812 assists, 1,327 points in 1,294 games. And for reason unbeknownst to me and probably anybody who follows hockey, this man is not in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
so,
like how is that possible?
Well, he's being modest and he's smiling right now, so we'll bring him on. We're referring, of course, to Pierre Turgeon. Pierre, thanks for joining us, and how you doing?
You guys are so kind. Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you. Yes.
So, now, how are you keeping busy these days? Any projects on the go?
Yeah. Well, no. We moved 2 years ago. We moved to Florida, and we lived in Denver for many years. So obviously, we were there in 2005, and then 2007, I retired. We stayed with the family. Activities with the kids, coached the kids. I was involved everywhere, we missed a lot when we play hockey. That's what happened. Next thing you know, I was able to be right back and be around the kids. So I really enjoy that part. And then 2 years ago, I told my wife, I look at her, I go, why not? Let's go try Florida. If we like it, we like. If we don't, then that's okay. We'll come back. Kids are older now, so they could do whatever they want. So. What's great is they want to come see us. They love coming down here in Florida. And we travel a lot during the summer. We don't stay here. We go back to Denver. We're going to go back northern Montreal, Rouyn-Noranda, our hometown, see the family still there. So because of COVID, obviously, we couldn't do this the last couple of years. Now we're going to be traveling a little bit more. But that's what we're doing. We're based in Florida and love being here, playing golf and enjoying life. To be honest with you, that's what I'm doing. I really like it.
What part of Florida?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm. Okay, I'm on the other side in Sarasota. I'm down here now. So
okay, that's cool.
Trying to get Squid to come down and play some golf.
Yeah. I don't feel like going to Florida right about now. The weather's just going to start getting nice here. We're in the middle of the playoffs. Come on. I mean, it's important.
You don't think about vacation when you play hockey. You got to think about it after. Come on, you got to get that playoff in. You're right.
I know, but we went 2 years with no hockey, no appearances, no nothing, and now all of a sudden they're starting to pile up. So it's kind of like, okay, I got to make some money now.
Well, but before we get started, just a little bit on a serious note, and the hockey world lost two giants in the last couple of weeks. Guy Lafleur, Mike Bossy. Pierre, any thoughts? Squid and I talked about this last week, and on our weekly show we talked about it. But any memories you can call of either or both?
These guys are incredible. They're a legend, obviously. And, Mike was a quiet guy, but just a very humble guy, very nice guy. And then, Guy was the same. He was around the locker room. You see him. We used to see him when I played there. But you could see him. And when Mr. Lafleur walked in that locker room, you could feel that room. My God, okay. Just not like Jean Béliveau when he walked in, the same thing. You're like, okay, Mr. Béliveau is walking in this room right now. We know it, And you're right. These guys were incredible. Great people. That's number one. And then hockey players, they were just incredible, and they're legends.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I remember doing a lot of appearances with, Henri Richard, Cormoyer, Lafleur, all these guys. And here's these guys all with like 5 to 10 to 11 Stanley Cups.
It's crazy.
But they treated me like I was equal to them. I mean,
Yeah.
they were unbelievable. It was like,
Yeah.
they were great people, great players. But and Mike Bossy was a really good individual. I played against him as junior, and then got to play against him for my whole career, pretty much in the NHL. And but a great goal scorer, but a better person, both of them.
Now, Pierre, let's go about. Let's walk through your career and see. Let's let the listeners listen to this and see where they come out on the end of it as far as where you should be right now resting. And I mean, I'm really pushing hard on this one. And Squid and I get on these things and we go hard, Pierre. So you were born in Marin, Quebec. Just talk about the early years of playing hockey and growing up and just what it was like during that whole period and following in your brother's footsteps, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I started playing hockey, obviously. I was 4 or 5 years old, started skating and obviously my brother was older than me, 4.5 years older. So I was looking at him and say, you know what? Maybe I could do something, like him eventually. And but he used to, when we were young, me and my brother, he used to put me in net and put, he used to laser those puck at my body. But like, what are you doing? Like, I'm young. It's like, you stop the puck, just stop complaining, And but that's how it was, So, but next thing you know is he left when he was 14, 15 to go in Montreal. And then he played midget AAA in Montreal. And then I stayed. And I look up to him a lot. And one day, this is just, it's material, but you're going to say, but one day he comes back after his first year in the NHL. He comes back and he drives a 944 Porsche. He comes back home, 944 Porsche. And I'm looking at him like, and I didn't get it. Like, I didn't get that when you play hockey, you could buy things and you could just do things and it's just material. But really, that's when I went, okay, if you play hockey, you could have these things. I didn't realize, I just love hockey. That's what it was. And it was, I know it's just material, but at the end of the day, it was a motivation for me to just, I want to do this. And one day, hopefully I could do it and I'm going to drive myself to do it. And it turned out okay. So, yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I didn't have any older brothers or anything, but I had a lot of people that helped me along the way when I was young playing hockey in Prince Edward Island. But then I go to Sherbrooke and then I make the World Junior team in 77, 78. And this goes back to the guys we just talked about too. So the Montreal Canadiens took all the weights out of their weight room and they put stalls in there. So we're dressing basically in their dressing room because it was wide open into the dressing room. And we got to watch them practice every day. And it was like back and forth, like 100 miles an hour. Guy going down the wing, flying down the wing with the hair flowing and everything. and we're sitting in the stands watching. And I'm like, holy cow, like, I want to be like that guy.
It's true. It's true. It's true. So, and my situation, I left back home, coming back to this when I was 14 and I went to midget AAA and then I went to junior in Granby. Yep. And the funny thing is when I got drafted by the Sabres, the next thing you know is I'm playing with, you said earlier he was your winger. He was my winger too for a while too. And I was so impressed by Rick. It was incredible how quick he could release that puck. And I remember, you're playing junior, guys are just staying at the same place and a lot of times, but Rick was able to get close to the net and just go out and be in a position where you could release that puck so quickly. It was incredible. I'm like, oh, and I was 18. I barely could speak English, Yeah. So, and it was incredible. And then I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. This guy gets open like it was the NHL. We're talking about, it's not junior. And it's funny how people don't realize how big I think the junior to the NHL is humongous. And I mean, that step is huge. Yeah. And so coming in as 18 years old and seeing all these guys like Greg was incredible. I was so impressed. I said, wow, can he shoot the puck? My God.
Well, you were kind of setting it up, as I was going to say to you, Pierre. I said, when did you, your brother gave a good indication with a 944 Porsche,
Yeah.
but when did you start thinking about, now this is going to sound like a really dumb question, but when did you start thinking you could possibly earn a living playing hockey? And I'm going to even make myself sound dumber by suggesting that, well, 154 points in 58 games, including 69 goals, is probably a good indication you have a shot at making a living playing the game.
Yeah, but you still don't know. Even my first year in the NHL, I would say the first couple months or so, and Buffalo was smaller, the ice was smaller, everything was happening quicker, everything was just, the guys are men, they're not kids anymore, they're not boys, they're men. And I'll tell you, sometime I had the puck, and all of a sudden I was thinking, whoop, the puck was gone. I said, whoops, okay, that happens quick, and you realize how quick it is. And then it was an adjustment. It took me a couple months to really feel like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to be all right now. I'm going to be okay. But I was young. I was 18. I was coming in, couldn't speak the language. And there was a lot. Try to understand the coaching staff when they're talking. You're looking at them like, okay, I have no idea. And when you're practicing, and hopefully you go behind the line, and until you get to the next, hopefully with seeing everything, you're okay to go for the next drill, for the drill. So I don't know. So it was an adjustment, and then really it was I love that. Love that.
We want to get into that a little deeper. But
go ahead.
One
thing is amazing is that like how hard it is for an 18-year-old coming in. Like we didn't go in and like we didn't get drafted until we were 20 years old, and now and guys like Pierre and guys like that coming in at 18, and I'm going, holy cow, they must have a tough time adjusting to this at 18 years old. It can't be easy because it wasn't easy when I was 20, let alone 18. I mean, but yeah. I think he adjusted pretty darn good. And
I would suggest.
It took a couple weeks, a couple months to say, okay, I'm good. I'm going to be fine. It's going to be good. And then next thing you know is you're learning so much with playing with better players and everything. And it's just starting out to be, and I love Buffalo. I mean, obviously I was there for 4 years, and then Patty came in and we traded. I saw Patty last weekend. We had a reunion, the alumni with the Islanders. And
I saw that.
Yeah, he's such an incredible man. This guy, a good man. And so anyway, we talk about the things what happened that day with the story and the trade and so anyway, it was great seeing him. Great go back and talk about the memories so anyway, the memories in Buffalo for me, I loved it. I love Buffalo. What a great town! What a great sport town! And I learned a lot with playing with a lot of good players. That's for sure.
Well, how much?
It's funny you mention your kids because coming back home and everything. Because I got a really good picture, and I can't remember what it was. We were at something and we were kind of leaning against a bar. It was like in the rink or something. And you and I are standing there, and my son is sitting on the bar between us. And I think he was like about 3 years old or 4 years old at the time. So
that's funny. It's crazy.
Well, I was going to, speaking of brother, like the brother, your brother Sylvain was taken. By the way, people may not realize, maybe you probably know, Pierre, but you guys are the only brothers that ever be drafted 1, 2 in a draft, but in different years.
We're very proud of that. That's cool. It's very cool.
That's a phenomenal feat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's fun to, so I mean, we didn't realize until it's actually Pierre Lacroix that brought it up at one point when he got drafted, when I got drafted, and he goes, did you guys realize that you're so far, that you guys are so, and I think it's still the same today if I'm not mistaken, but so it's been so it's kind of cool,
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But now I mean, it's going to sound pretty obvious, but how helpful was it having your older brother get drafted a few years in front of you at such a high spot, number 2 overall? You're projected to go number 1.
Yeah.
There's a language issue. I mean, speak about all of that going to Buffalo, young kid, all the pressure on you. You're 18 years old. How did the veterans and all that stuff all come in place for you?
Oh, it helps, obviously. I mean, guys, you're coming in and, we had such an older team. Like Mark Napier was there, Clark Gillies, Lindy Roth, Mike Ramsey, records that. I mean, there's just, name it. Owsley was there.
Mike Foligno.
Mike Foligno, and all.
Yeah.
It's incredible, all the veterans we had, and all the. So it was great for me to come in and really feel like I was part of it. Just because I felt welcome with having all the experience in these guys there, and really. So it helps, obviously, and I had Jacques Cloutier. We had he was the goalie, he was the backup goalie, and Jacques, we used to live right across the street where I was. So, he used to help me a ton with language and just talk. And sometimes during practice, I used to go see him and say, "What did you say? Can I, say I was, yeah." And I used to talk to him all the time on the phone. How do you say I'm hungry? So just whatever. So it really helped, at the end of the day. But yeah, the guys made it so easy to come in and really feel part of it, and we had such a fun, good team there too in Buffalo. Incredible.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you talk about Jacques Cloutier, who's a goalie.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was probably the most sensible, fun-loving, laughing goalie that I think I've ever met. Like most goalies, you don't talk to them on the day of the game. Like, don't even go near them. Jacques, he didn't give a damn. He was like, yeah, whatever.
So in practice, you used to hear him like all of a sudden you're coming down, you go skate all the way down, you get to that red line, and all of a sudden under that mask, there's a mouth going, and he's explaining the guy coming down. He's coming from the left side. He's explaining and then he makes a save and say, "Nice try, kid. Go back again." Yeah. So, but you're right, Rick. He was always having fun. It was fun. He was communicating all the time, and he was laughing behind that mask, and it was just fun to shoot on him, but he was challenging you at the same time, and he was serious, but he was enjoying the time, which is great.
Yeah,
it's true.
Now I was going to ask, your first year it went pretty good. You had decent numbers. You get a Stanley Cup run. Did you just think, "Oh my goodness, this is national hockey. This is pretty easy"? I'm joking, of course. But
yeah, no. So nothing. No, it's you don't realize, and even that after many years in the league, you think, after a couple of years, I'm like, I felt, I think one of those years I came back, the second or third year I came back, like I was 10 pounds overweight. I had and I thought, I took it for granted. Like I didn't realize. I thought, I'm going to do this. It's going to be epic. And then I hit a wall, to be honest with you. And it was the best wall I could hit because I learned so much from that wall. Just the fact that I came in and thought, it's not easy. You know what? I learned, kid, you better get your things together. So, and it took me a while to get back on track, couple months, and then all of a sudden I went back to it. But you can't, and it's such a big business, especially now. It's a business today. I mean, you better be ready. If you're not, someone's going to steal your job. That's what's going to happen. And but you can't take anything. You're coming in. Everything is. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially even today. It's not easy.
I can't even imagine. Like I said, at 18 years old, and now the league's getting even younger. I think if you look around, I mean, there's so many young guys in the league and very talented players too. I mean, like I look back at my time in the 80s, and of course you came in the late 80s. Yeah. I mean, if you ever tried one of those lacrosse goals back then, somebody would have probably two-handed you across the head. Yeah. Like, I'm not kidding. I mean,
it's true. It's true.
Like you wouldn't try anything like that, but now they practice doing that, and then they do it in a game, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, that guy's got a lot of talent if he can do that. But I mean, trying to do that in the 80s, and you might not have made it through the game.
I don't think so. You pick up a puck behind the net like this, and you just go in the back and squeeze back in. Kids are incredible now. You're right. They're doing stuff like this. And I don't think many years ago, like you would have done it. I think a couple people would have probably went after you and say, "You can't do this, kid." In this,
we didn't try those things either. Like even in the summer or practice or anything like that. You didn't even think of, being that type of player and being able to pull off those things. But now these kids are good, and they're talented. And they try it all summer. They work at it, and then they get into a game, and lo and behold, they do it.
That's true. Now, and finding time to do it, that's the thing. It's crazy. Yeah.
Now, Pierre, can I ask you just your first year? I mean, here you are, French Canadian kid, northern part of Quebec. You come in, Buffalo. which is fine. It's not a real big city, so it's a little south of Toronto. But then you're going through the circuit. So your first time through that, again, with all the language issues and all this stuff, and you're getting some help. Was your head a bit on a swivel going throughout the league the first time, or did you just try to keep your head down and just play?
You know what? It's funny. And after that, after a couple weeks or a couple months, you feel like when you get on the ice, you get in that own. I feel that way, and even today when I go play, you get in your own little bubble. There's something in there. And then your focus is just that black thing. Where's that black thing? I want that black thing. Where is it? And seriously, and there's nothing else. Like you hear the crowd, especially the first couple of years when you're in the league, because it's like 20,000. After that, you hear the crowd, you feel it, but you're so into the game. Your mindset is just that puck. And keeping your head swiveled or looking, you're so into the game. You have, and especially if the game is 1-1 to you're losing my goal. Like I felt when that was the situation, I felt I got to do something about it. That was my job. I felt like I took this like this. It didn't happen all the time, but if I could make it different, I was going to make that different. That's how I felt. And but it's always the. You get in that zone, and it's funny that there's nothing else mattered. There's nothing else you're thinking. There's no worry. It's just that black thing. Where is it?
What I was also referring to.
I know exactly what he's talking about for sure.
Yeah.
Well, no, Squid, you're maybe a little different in this one, but I was also referring, Pierre, to around the league, going into cities like New York and in LA and Chicago. Yep. So all of that to combine with on the ice. I mean, was you just a bit of a blur while all that was going on around you? Yeah.
I mean, you're going to cities that don't. I mean, this is funny because I left my hometown when I was 14. The biggest trip we did when I was young, maybe Montreal. When we went to Montreal, it's like going to New York. So it's like and we didn't know, and we barely went. So when I went to Montreal, I'm like, wow, this is nice. I got played there for. And my dad was a lumberjack. My mom was home cooking, and she was cleaning houses, and then my dad, we didn't go anywhere. It was just, that's what we knew. It was playing hockey and stay home. And all of a sudden now we go to, I get picked by, Buffalo, the Sabres, and then going there, and I'm like, and I spend the full summer there. The first year we spent some months there. I'm like, the second year we spend more. And I said, this is incredible. Wow. It's just, we didn't know any better. Leaving back home was so cold. It was just, limited with things to do. And now we're in Buffalo. And then after that, when I started traveling, went to New York, Chicago. We're like, okay, this is a different thing now. Now we're seeing restaurants. We're seeing, the vibe was different. The cities, it was just, but how it was so much fun. And you learn so much, you grow so much quicker that with traveling and with your friends and your teammates and going to restaurant the night before. I used to love that. So it's probably my favorite thing to do on the road. But it was I love all this. And then New York City, coming back to New York right now. We just came back last weekend, like I said, but we stayed in New York City, even if we had the alumni with the Islanders. And a couple of days, we went to Bryant Park outside, which I never done during this time. It was 65, 70 degrees, and wow, this is, So, but you're right. You're young. You're moving. You're learning so much. You're growing. You're seeing cities, incredible, and I'm still learning. I mean, I went to New York. It was just, I had an incredible fun time when I was there last weekend. So yeah.
So Pierre, talk about your hometown, because I mean, there's been a lot of NHL players have come out of there. I mean, I know PEI per capita probably has a lot of players, but there's been a lot of really good hockey players who have come out of your hometown.
Yeah, we had Savard, Mr. Savard, Jean Houle. I mean, you go Bordelot. You have, there's Stéphane Matteau, Eric Desjardins. But we had like 20 guys, all these guys that came out of there, and somehow why I don't know exactly why, but I think we spend a lot of time on the ice, but a lot of people spend a lot of time on the ice. I mean, the coaching staff were great. I mean, it's just, but you're right. The reason, I don't know why exactly, but somehow we had a lot of hockey players, the NHL, made the NHL, and had great careers too from Rouyn-Noranda.
Wasn't Dave Keon from there
Dave
too?
Keon, yeah.
Noranda.
So, hey, last
Noranda,
one you
yeah.
want to forget. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like
So-
I said, there's been a lot of great players
Yeah.
come out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you now. Here we go. 4 good years in Buffalo. Then you
Yep.
get the dreaded call. You're moved to the New York Islanders. Take us through smiling. So take us through that day and how you found out and how you reacted.
yeah. So I learned this with Jeremy and came out and we were on the ice and and Benoit got told that he was traded. So and he goes, you need to go see Jerry. And I went to see Jeremy and Jerry tells me, and he was really emotional because he drafted me. So that was hard that was hard to hear. And just because then a lot of players stayed in the same towns or same cities, the same team for many, many, many years. But excuse me, somehow. So I got traded there, and then we leave to and I was disappointed. I thought I was going to go stay in Buffalo for many years, and then the same day we had it was Huey Coop, myself, Benoit Hogue, and McCoy, Dave McCoy, I think. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
McLean.
Yeah.
So we get traded, and then same day Steve Thomas and I think it was the Adam Creighton got traded from Chicago. So 6 guys are coming in same day in New York. That changed the team. It's a full line. It's just so. And then it was a good trade because there was a lot of people involved. Obviously, Patty was. Is it Randy Wood too?
Yeah.
Randy Wood was involved, correct. And then we got there was the trade that happened, and then we had and then we just started, like 6 guys come in one day, and next thing you know is it started going. And then, which I didn't know much. Al Arbor, I knew a little bit about him, but just, but next thing you know is this coach was just, wow, what an amazing man, an amazing guy, incredible coach. I probably learned the most of a coach with a coach. He was incredible as far as showing you and getting in your mind in a positive way. So he was good. I'm sorry, Michael.
Like what? I can't even remember. I was there, but I can't remember that trade because I remember McElwain and no, that was a different trade. McElwain and Patty came into.
Yeah, it was
Buffalo.
Randy Wood, correct?
Yeah.
And it was and Patty, and then Dave McCoy. Was it Dave? Yeah. And myself, Huey Coop, and then and Benoit Hogue.
Okay.
Benoit Hogue, Huey Coop, and Dave McLean.
Yeah. So it was kind of, it turned out okay because Benny had a ton of ice time. Huey was playing a lot. I was playing a lot. So we just, and then Steve Thomas was coming in too at the same time. So I played with Steve for many years, with Derek King also. And and then we had a team that was okay, good team, but we had a team that, Al Arbor believed in us, and he made us believe that we could go through anything, and that's how we went far in the playoff that year with 93 against Pittsburgh, beating Pittsburgh, and we beat Washington before, and my situation with Dale, happened with the shoulder and everything, and then I missed Pittsburgh pretty much, and then I came back in Montreal. And but I came back the last game against Pittsburgh, but I didn't play one shift, and we went in OT. So I just wanted to be on the bench, and I asked Al, I said, "Can I be on the bench?" He said, "Can you play?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, yeah, you could be on the bench if you want to." I said, "Yeah, it's perfect." So I get on the bench. I don't even play one shift, and we get an OT. It's funny thing that we get an OT, and Al goes, and then the game's slowing down. You could tell the tempo is just going down. I mean, we're second, I think, in the second period OT, and right before we score, right before David Volek scored a pass from Ray Ferraro, he calls my name. He goes, "You ready? You're going." I'm looking at him. So you said I'm full of energy. Like I'm just want to go. I have one shoulder. I don't care. I want to go. And so he calls me, and I think he was going to send me. The game was so slow. It's just like, okay, I'm full of energy. And it turned out that we scored right before I went on the ice. Crazy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into that. We want to ask you, but we're going to get into the Hunter hit. But
yeah,
that for the people who maybe aren't aware, but was happened in the first round of the playoffs, and Pierre scored a goal to make it 5-1, and Hunter ran him cheap shot and ran him into the boards and separated your shoulder. And anyway,
I remember that.
What do you remember about the incident, Pierre? Because you obviously weren't watching. Your head was turned.
Oh, well, I was celebrating. So we scored, and that actually nailed that game. We got it. I scored. I intercept the puck, and I'm going down. And I said, shoot it, blocker side. I'm celebrating, facing the crowd. 20,000 people, and then I just got hammered from behind, obviously, and I hit the board and I hurt my shoulder and stuff. So, and then it got to be a zoo. Everything is just flying everywhere. It's just so it did. I mean, it's just. It's a situation happened. It's not fun, obviously, and I wish I missed a lot after that. I wasn't the same. I wish could have stayed healthy. But that's So I get hit from behind. I separated my shoulder. I was out for only 10 days or so not long. So I was back, but I wasn't ready, obviously. So then we went against Montreal when we would beat Pittsburgh after that. So yeah.
Well, we can never know the answer to this, but. You got your separation shows up. He got a record 21-game suspension.
Yep.
What I thought of at the time, though, which was record number, 10 years earlier, Time Laziak had gotten a 20-game suspension for tripping an official. Well, here's a guy who ran a guy face first into the board, separates his shoulder during a Stanley Cup run. It could have cost you your career.
Yeah.
It could have cost you a Stanley Cup championship. And they get all these guys like Don Cherry lauding it as a competitive fireman. Really, it was a gutless move. And you don't have to answer that. But do you think the 21 games was fair?
At that point, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was the biggest suspension in the league, so I was the biggest one, and then I was a part of his salary too. So everything, my main concern was, can I come back now and play hockey the same way? You know what I mean? It's just like my shoulder is going to be, and at the end of the day, it's a separation of shoulder. You're fine. You come back, and then I was able to play and be fine. So, it's one of those. I mean, it's so many years. It's been so many years going on. So you're thinking, okay, life moves on, and I wish him well. I wish him he's going to do well, and he's been doing a great job too with the junior team stuff. And I don't know where he's.
Did you ever speak, the two of you, after the fact?
We speak a couple of days after, but it was really quick. Obviously, it was tough conversations, but a couple words that was it. It didn't last for long. It didn't last long. So So, but it's been so many years. At one point, you're like, we're moving on. I wish him well, and at the end of the day,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way Dale played, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
I mean,
but he had an incredible career, though.
He did. He did. Yeah. There's no question, and. Now he's having a ton of success owning the London Knights and coaching the London Knights and winning Memorial Cups and you name it. So, I think
he's doing a good job with the kids. No doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Well, there's one playing in Toronto that played from right now. Where's number 16? It seemed to turn out okay playing under him.
That's right.
The fans are pretty happy with that one. And Hannafin in Calgary is another. Or no, not Hannafin. Who's the other kid? Chichuk is the other one.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of them have turned out pretty good under his.
For sure. And I think he's got a lot. To be honest with you, he's got a lot to do with it for sure.
Well, Patrick Kane played for him.
Kane, Corey Perry,
Gagne. I mean,
yeah.
Lots.
Developed a lot of good NHL players.
For sure, he does.
So here we go. So here's the next one. Following the lockout year, we'll get into the fun stuff here a little bit. You're moved to Montreal. Now, here you are get traded again for the second time. Like, you're putting up some pretty big numbers. You're getting moved again, but you're not getting moved for bit pieces. But so what were you mentally going through while this is all going on? I get moved back to Montreal, so it must have been very emotional for you.
Yeah, very. I mean, I was happy. I'm not going to deny it. I was like, I'm going to Montreal.
Of course.
Yes, it's weird because I I kind of had a feeling I was getting traded, and I'll tell you why. And no one knows this pretty much, but Patrick Waugh had a phone call from Patrick. He goes, "I think he might be coming here." I said, "What are you talking about?" So I kind of had he told me something that. So the morning I was going to the rink, I'm like, I might get traded today. So I get to the rink, and we have a game at night. So I'm thinking. So everyone's walking in front of me, locker room, and I see the manager come in front, and then I'm like, okay, maybe. What I didn't realize that night, it was they had poster of myself. There was Pierre Turgeon's night, so they didn't want to trade me that night. So that's the reason why I get traded. But the next morning when I went to the rink, that's how I found out. He goes, I called Patrick after the game, so you're not telling me this. You don't know. I just said, you wait. So the next day I walk in the locker room, and then I got traded. That's when I got traded to Montreal. So that's how I found out. So I had an idea it was happening.
Well, I was going to ask you now. Okay, so now you're going home.
Yeah.
Again, you're from Quebec. Just like any kid coming home to a city, did you feel the additional pressure of wearing the jersey? And now, first off, you probably dreamed as a kid to play for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, you're right.
So we ask every player that comes home the same question.
Mm-hmm.
When you finally pulled that jersey over your head, was it as you expected, as you thought it would be, or was it even more?
Even more. Crazy. Like you put the jersey, you're like, wow, okay, this is when I was a kid. I was used to watch this on TV, and now I'm putting one of those to play for the Montreal Canadiens. That's crazy. So I was so pumped. Like, it's not like and then you look at all the history and the people, the players that played there. It's just, and so I get the jersey, and then we play a game Quebec home, Quebec on the road. So, and I was like, the mayor's he's talking to me, he goes, I know you're not playing a lot right now. I don't know why, but be careful. You might be playing a lot of hockey here. I said, okay. Well, yeah, he was playing almost 20 minutes, 28 minutes, 26 minutes a game. I said, okay, I can't handle 26 minutes. That's too much. So I went from not playing a lot somehow because they weren't happy. And then all of a sudden I go to Montreal and I'm playing 20-something, 5 minutes, 24 minutes, something. It's just crazy. Every double shift. It's too much, But I played a lot. I loved it. So obviously I had a lot of ice time, and we were catching up to make the playoff. We barely made it. We didn't make it. So it was at the end, and then I was, everything happened as I think timing for me, being at the right place, right time. And it was a good timing, but there's a lot of things that happen before the good timing and be at the right place. You have they fired Mr. Savard, they hired Reginault, Mario Tremblay came in, and Demers was gone, and then the Patrick Waugh situation with the arms that and after that. We had we closed the forum. We opened the Molson Center. This has happened in a year and a half. This is like, wow. I'm looking around. This is what's happening. There's something happening all the time. And it was just crazy. But the timing of me being the captain there, and it's just be at the right place, the right time. That's what it was. And being the captain there and close the forum was just, I still talk about this and I have goosebumps. And it's crazy. It's one of the highlight of my career for sure. And seeing who was on the ice too, you have, Jean Beliveau, Mr. Savard, all these guys around it. I mean, the Rocket, they had a standing ovation for the Rocket for I don't know how long, but it was just incredible. And then I had a chance to, when they named me captain there, I had a chance to go have lunch with Jean Beliveau. I mean, for an hour and a half. And wow, I came out of there and said, I'm going to go buy his book. I'm buying his book. So I went to buy his book. I read his book, and like that's one of the person that impressed me the most in hockey. I didn't even play with him, but just his presence and his when he walks in a room, everything stops.
Yeah,
Mr. Beliveau walking in the room right now. Wow, it's he was an impressive man, very impressive, and I was really grateful to have a chance to have just lunch with him. and learn a lot just in an hour and a half, and really as a person, how he was, what you heard and what we heard, and having the chance to spend that time with him for an hour was incredible.
Well, I got a chance. It's funny you bring him up because like my father's from Gatineau, so he's French. Obviously, I'm half French. My name is French, and so he was a big Montreal Canadiens fan. Made my mother a Montreal Canadiens fan. My aunt. And it's like, okay, I can't be a Canadiens fan if they're all Canadiens fans. I got to be a Leaf fan, right? But I got to meet Jean Beliveau at a banquet when I was a kid. And then I got to meet him again at the World Juniors at the Forum. And I got to tell you, he probably was the best gentleman I've ever met.
Yeah.
For a guy that had the success that he had in the National Hockey League, I mean, it was incredible. He carried himself like unbelievable as a person. And I remember the times that I got to meet him and talk to him a little bit, and it was fantastic.
Oh, he's a good man. Yeah, for sure.
I can tell you one story. A friend of mine told me about him. Before he passed, he was doing an event in Toronto at the Hockey Hall of Fame with a bunch of NHL guys for a special occasion. But he'd spent the day doing a lot of signings, making appearances, making talks, and he was not in good health. So this friend was walking him back to the hotel at the Royal York, very late, probably about 11 o'clock. And out the front, all the fans were waiting for the players to come to site, get autographs. So he said, Mr. Beliveau, I know a door around the back. We can avoid all that. So you can go to your room because you look very tired. And he said, no chance. He said, those people made me what I am. He said, I owe it to them to go there and talk to them. And he stood and signed, he signed every autograph. And I know you're not surprised by that either, you guys.
No.
Not at all.
What I want to ask you is, leading it up, I guess that was a good sort of lead-in for me on my own. I'll pat myself on the back in this one. Pierre, your named captain. Okay, again, the hometown guy, you all of a sudden wearing that C with these iconic names and players around you.
Yeah.
How did you emotionally deal with it and keep your head on to play?
Yeah, it's funny because we had such a, I got traded, and next thing you know is Mike Keane had it for, period of 6-7 months or so. and then I got to see when everything changed. Sure, there's a lot of responsibility. There's no doubt about this. Obviously, the media, the players, and then the communication, coaching staff too. So it was a lot of response, especially in Montreal or Toronto or Canada. Obviously, you get but again, and you go back when you get to your 2 feet back on the ice. You get in that own little bubble that you go back to, because that's what we've been doing all our life, So it's there's nothing gets in there. It's that black thing. Where's the black thing? I want, So, but you get in that bubble. You get in that zone that so that doesn't change the way you're going to go on the ice. So, and then after so many years, to maybe the first couple of years, the first couple of months, you feel like, okay, you're more, you think a little more about it just because you're. Are you going to be okay? Are you going to be able to adjust to the speed? You're going to be, there's a lot of things that you don't know when you're a kid coming in. After many years, I'm going to Montreal. I feel like if I go on the ice, that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to. And I get in that zone and I just feel, I think they say when you love doing something, you get in that bubble and you get in that zone. I love playing hockey. I love the game of hockey. I like watching it, but playing it is the best thing in the world, to me, in my opinion.
It's funny. It's funny you mention that because a couple of guys had asked me, and I remember teammates, like I don't know what it was and how I got it, but I had the ability to block everything out around me when I was playing. Like I didn't hear the crowd very often at all. Sometimes I didn't even hear my teammate talking to me who's sitting on the bench beside me, because I was concentrating on the guy that was on the ice that I was going to go and replace on the next shift. And someone said to me, well, how can you do that? I said, I don't know. It happens. I said, I just get like tunnel vision on what I need to do on the bench and on the ice, and that's all I think about. And
That's good. I loved what you just said too. So to add to that is, for me, in my experience, when you get in your own little zone, you get it, and then on top of it, when I had Al Arbor as a coach, I'm struggling. I didn't score for 20 games. I feel like forever, so, or I think 18 games.
Mhm.
And he goes, come in my office. I need to talk to you. I said, okay. I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go again. So I don't know. So Al Arbor, first meeting, I'm going in there. I said, I don't know. And Al Arbor speaks very well in French too. So we speak French, we speak English, and he goes to me. He goes, "How you feeling?" I said, "I don't know. I don't feel very good. What do you want me to tell you?" So he goes, "I don't really care if you score." I said, well, I do. I want to. I do. I do. He goes, "You know what? I want you to do one thing for me." And now he starts defining this, and I took this with me for the rest of my career. He goes, "How many games do you have in a season?" I said, "Okay, 82 games." How many periods do you have in a game? Okay, you know the answers. I'm not gonna. Why am I answering? So how many shifts do you have in one period? 6, 7. And he goes, "How many seconds you have in your shift?" Okay, so how many? I want you to count those seconds. Every time there's a battle on that board, it's your puck. Win that puck, it's yours. There's nothing else matter. I don't really care about you scoring goals. I don't care about you making nothing. And then I want you to focus in that moment. That's it. When you come back on that bench, you sit down. I want you to process things, learn from it, move on. Your next shift. You just said that, Rick. You just block it. You just move on. You make a mistake. Someone score against you. There's your -2 that game, -3. All of a sudden, your next shift, forget about it. Move on.
Yeah.
You got to move on. You can't do anything about it. Move to your next shift. So I took this for me, my experience with Al.
Yeah.
I brought this for the rest of my career. I stayed in the moment as much as I can and don't think too far. Just win little areas of the game, winning the battles and the drive in the net, staying ready for the rebound, or it's just big things, smaller things like this adds up to a scoring chance, adds up to a goal or assist, or so I learned a lot with Al. In that point, and I brought that for the rest of my career with me for sure.
Well, you're very fortunate that you got to have a coach like that in your career, because, I mean, I certainly didn't have anybody that was like that. And
Al was playing with your mind a lot. He was able to get in there.
But that's great when he brought you in. He sat you down. He broke everything down to little details that meant a lot. And obviously that changed how you thought about the game. And I think that's remarkable.
Yeah, he made a difference. Yeah, and you look at all the people that played for him.
Yeah,
they all like I talked to Derek King. Before he got hired for Chicago, and I go to him. I said, and he was coaching the minor team when he was coaching Chicago. The Marlins, yeah. And he goes, I go to him. I go, how much of an impact Al Arbor had in your coaching career? He goes, everything I do, I think about him. Everything I do, it's him. Like, it's crazy. I coach my kids, I coach my girls, it was coming from Al.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, when I got into coaching, I didn't have too many people to look up to and think about. I took probably one or two good things from each of them, and then threw the rest of them all out the window, and then just kind of learned on the fly. But I always went into it as, look, I'm going to be a player's coach in that, I'm going to demand respect, but at the same time, I'm going to make sure that I talk to them every day, like 2 or 3 guys every day, and have a conversation. How are things? Not necessarily about hockey. It's like, you gotta show them respect too. I think, as a coach, and the fact that you care about how they're doing as people. And I think when they realize that you really care, they're going to play a little bit harder for you, in my mind, anyway.
100%. 100%.
Well, I was going to say, Pierre, you must have been a good study or a quick study because you scored 515 goals. So it must have got through somehow. And I was going to say that you scored your 500th goal as a San Jose Shark. Now, this may sound a little dumb also. I've asked a couple of dumb questions today. Was it a little bittersweet, or did it really matter because it's the NHL and 500 goals is 500 goals no matter where you score them?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 500 goals. It's fine. You take it. I mean, it's just the way I think it's a look back. When you get to that point, now you're looking back. You're like, well, I was thinking when I started playing, if I play 10 years, I'll be happy. And I'll be lucky. If I get, I'll be, and if I could make it to at beginning, especially 8-10 years, that's what I was thinking. And then played 19 years. Those were all bonus. I mean, it's just it's crazy when you think about it. And then, but that makes you realize when you get those achievements and you do things like this, you're looking back after that. You go, well, and to get there, how many good players you played with? There's a lot of people that made you a better player too. You know what I mean? So that is incredible, Adrian. You have that. And I was blessed to play with an incredible player. Rick was one of them. You know what I mean? And I played the game I love, and they paid me for it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, and I didn't. I was about 2.5 seasons away from catching you, I think. But unfortunately, injuries started piling up at the end of my career in Buffalo, and then it was kind of over. I mean, it was like I just couldn't play anymore. And
All right, here's a question for Pierre that he can probably answer a little better than you, Squid. Sorry, my man, but this one's more directed to him. But coming close a few times to the ultimate prize, which is the Stanley Cup, people often suggest or always suggest that you got to elevate your game to another level.
Yep.
Now, reflecting on your near misses, could you define what that really means, besides just winning, obviously, but what that really does entail?
Hey, winning a Stanley Cup there's only one team that wins it on 32 teams. So obviously, you got to be in the right place. There's right time. You got the right personnel, the right goalies, and right stuff. And I wish, obviously, but it's sure you got to be right place, right timing, and then winning a Stanley Cup is a crazy timing, not easy, hard place to be. You look at Pat LaFontaine. I mean, incredible career. You know what I mean? So you could look at players like So you could go. There's a lot of good players that didn't win, but they had an incredible career. And but at the end of the day, all this, the Stanley Cup, and when I look back, or it'd be, I wanted to. That's number one. That's the goal number one you want to achieve, obviously. And you could look back at things that happen. You're disappointed, or you're happy, or you're but you're kind of going back. Now I look back on everything that happened in my career. And for me, I was blessed to do something I love. That's number one. Like every time I was able to put my 2 feet on the ice, going back and going in that bubble, just that's and they paid me. They paid me to do something I love. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So all this is incredible. Yeah, I wish I would have had a Stanley Cup on top of all this, but I don't. But it's no regret. There's people you meet through hockey, incredible people. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of good persons. I mean, I learned a lot with all the players I played with, and I was grateful for my hockey career for sure.
That's funny you say that, because it's true. It's so true. I mean, it really is. I mean, everybody. Like I remember my father, we were never able to stay up and watch games past the first period. But every year when the Stanley Cup was given out, he would wake me up to watch that.
Is that right? It's funny.
And so when I got finally to the NHL, that was like, it was like, okay, I got to win a Stanley Cup. Like, but I mean, there's a lot of circumstances that surround that. I mean, you got to be on the right team. You know, not everybody got to play in Edmonton or New York Islanders when they were on their 4 cup winning streaks, and you know, so I mean, you know, I mean, a lot has to go. A lot of luck has to go into it too, I think. But it was, you know, I never got to. Well, I never even got close. I never got past the second round. So.
Well, actually, where I was kind of going with that with you, Pierre, is and Rick, you to a certain degree, was when you watch the playoffs today, it's easier to identify teams that seem to be finding that level as they're going throughout the playoffs, like the intangibles that may not be noticeable to us viewers, but to guys who've been in the trenches and gone through that battle to win the Stanley Cup at the end. You know what you're kind of looking for. You can see guys that are there or maybe just getting close.
Yeah, they're all for sure. There is guys that they could make the difference. They could make the, you know, the game's on the line. But you look. I was looking at the game, and it's only the first game. I was looking at Carolina yesterday. You know, I watched the game. Yep. They work so well as a team. It's not even funny. Like they were so intense on the puck. They just didn't stop. They're just on the puck, taking away time and space. It's just boom on the good puck, stick on the puck. It's just crazy. And but they're relentless. That's the thing. It's crazy. Like it was incredible. Like it was fun to watch. I mean, I look at Toronto too. Toronto, but incredible. I mean, those are the 2 games I watched yesterday. But the Toronto, incredible. It was fun to watch too. I don't know if they played well. It was just. But they were intense. They were, anyway. So we'll see. It might be different. It's a long series, obviously, but
you're right.
I mean, you got to win 4 games, and but the Leafs were unbelievable last night. I mean, everybody played well on that team. I think the biggest thing, you know, you look at the best players, the goal scorers, whatever. Yes, they're a big part of winning the Stanley Cup, obviously. But I mean, you know, you look at last year, and you look at Tampa. And probably one of their best lines was Gord, Coleman, and I forget the third guy.
Point? Is it Point?
No.
Coleman, Gord, and
Yanni Gord, Blake Coleman, and I forgot the third one. It doesn't matter. We know who you mean. The third
one of them's in Calgary and one of them's in New Jersey. So
and one's in
But I mean, they were exceptional as their third line, and they, you know, I mean, I don't think if it wasn't for them, I'm not sure Tampa wins the Stanley Cup.
No,
because they had a lot to do with it. And
you need depth.
So you need that depth, and you know, if you're going to win, you need that depth, and you don't win without goaltending and depth. And
well, here's a question.
It's always the goalie's fault.
Yeah. Go ahead, the goalie's fault, of course. Well, you know, I always say if you lose 2-1, if the goalie did his job, you'd have won 1-0. Right?
Yeah.
There we go.
You always tell the goalie that. Now, for you two guys, here's a question for both of you, and this is going back to being traded. So I'd like your thought on this. So in a general sense, do players feel slighted being traded? I know you're mad if you want to leave the town, all those obvious things, but feeling almost as if you've been targeted as the problem or one of the problems why the team isn't winning. So that almost gives you added motivation going to the new home. Pierre, you first.
Yeah. Well, there's a team that doesn't want you, but there's a team that wants you. So you're like, okay. So and sometimes I think it's part of the job. It's part, especially now or last, you know, before, like I said, used to play for the same team for so many years, you know, it's just, but it was, and then it changed. And they all say if Gretzky could get traded, there's pretty much everyone that could get traded. Doesn't matter, you know? So it's part of the job. You don't take it personal. You just, you know, you always take what was great there, and you take it and move on and bring that positive thing. And you go to a team that wants you. I took it like that personally, you know. So, and sometimes they just want to make change. They want to have someone new. They think they could get better, you know, by making a trade. Then it's fine, you know. So it didn't bother me.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it bothered me a little bit when I got traded from Toronto to Chicago. I mean, I didn't want to leave Toronto. I love Toronto. I love playing for the Maple Leafs. And the fact that I got traded 3 days before training camp, so I had to pack up and leave. And my wife was left to do everything in Toronto, like get the movers and sell the house and all that, which is not fun. And then from Chicago to Buffalo, it was the day after Christmas. So she was left in Chicago with a baby, or 2-year-old or 2.5, and she was pregnant, and she had to get the movers and the real estate people. I'm sorry, but that's not fun. And I didn't see them until February 4th. And then the first trade from Toronto to Chicago, I didn't see them until October.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's the kids, family, the kids, for sure. And then we had, for me, I got traded 3 times really, because I signed a free agency when I left St. Louis. I got free agency going to Denver. So, but it was, my experience was harder. I think it's harder when the kids were older. And then the kids, the friends, school, your wife is just the next thing you know is you got to move again. That's the hard part, I feel like. So that was not easy.
We were lucky our kids were young at the time, but still, I mean, for your wife who has a 2.5-year-old and she's pregnant and she's left all alone to sell the house, get the movers and everything. And then February 4th, I think we're playing in LA. And the All-Star game is on the Tuesday. We're playing Saturday in LA. I take the red eye to Chicago after the game.
Okay.
Land in Chicago that morning, and then the truck comes and puts all the final things in the truck, and off we go to Buffalo. And that was February 4th.
Yeah, it's cool.
So,
well, Pierre, we could talk to you for hours, and we don't want to tie you up.
I love it. So I love it.
Hey, you want to go and hit balls probably or something like in the beautiful weather. So anyway, we want to thank you so much. Quick, a final thought for Pierre before we let him go.
Well, please don't tell me what the temperature is down there, because that'll get me angry. And then it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow. So
that's funny. Well, hey. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. That was fun. I enjoyed it. It's like having a conversation on your sofa at home. So I love that part. So thank you.
Great. We want to thank you very much and the best. And again, one day, hopefully we'll be seeing you in the Hall of Fame where you belong.
You're very kind. You're very kind. Hey, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I was blessed to do something I love. I'm thankful for a lot of, so if it does happen, I'd love to, obviously. It would be the icing on the cake, but, so if it, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I think you deserve to be there too, and we had Steve Larmer on too, another guy that I think is very underappreciated. He had a great career.
Oh, for sure.
By the way, I got inducted into the Quebec Junior League Hall of Fame, but that was the year of the pandemic, and I haven't heard anything since. So I don't know what they're going to do.
That's funny.
Okay, guys. All right. Thanks again, Pierre.
Hey, awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pierre.
Thank you.
Pierre.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Hands right there.
All right, Rick.